All right, guys, welcome back to the Brave Podcast. My name is Angelo, aka Exploring with Angelo, here on YouTube. Usually you'll find me out there hunting ghosts and exploring and kind of just doing whatever. Today, we're going to be talking about all sorts of things. I am here with my good friend Alex. He was saying that he has not been in here since the last time we saw each other was June 2023.
That's right.
That's crazy. Part 2. Yeah. So what's new? What's exciting?
I think it's just, staying out of trouble. All jokes aside, being disciplined, being consistent, persistent. Sometimes that's the boring things that people don't want to talk about, but that's what's going to excel what you need to do as far as the future goes. But I think, you just got to keep going and have your we were talking about this earlier. You got to have short-term and long-term goals to keep yourself accountable. Right.
Yeah, I was telling Alex that back in the day when I was doing sales, I used to have a daily planner, like an actual paper daily planner. It would show the entire day, and the reason why we did that was because we would handwrite everything, and then we could see the gaps in time. So to not waste time during the day, we would know exactly what we're doing hour to hour, right? So I don't know, I found that useful. And then phones became smarter, so it was easier to just put your schedule into there. But yeah, tell everybody what you're up to these days. What are you doing?
As far as
business-wise,
got a couple of things going on. I still do the financial consulting. I just recently joined a health business that eliminates a lot of, I guess, problems that people occur, like brain fog, sustainable weight loss. It's like a tea. You take the tea in the morning, and it helps you intermittent fast throughout the day.
Huh, interesting.
And
what's in it?
It's basically just like fiber, and then like
coconut oil or extra.
I have to take a look. Definitely not that, but a lot of nurses, as well as doctors, have FDA approved it.
Oh, okay.
So I was intrigued. I only knew about it through a friend that I worked with. And I said to myself, in order for me to believe in something, like you in sales, you have to believe in it in order to provide that value. I've kind of taken a hike on it, on telling people about it. So I thought I'd try it myself. And so I've been on it pretty much April consistently since. And I've definitely got more cut as far as my face goes.
Okay.
I don't eat as much. You know how it takes like 20-30 minutes to get full. I get full right away, so it tells you when you're full.
Interesting.
Gives you the right amount of fiber, but I mean, it depends on what your doctor prescribes and all that. I don't want to take away from that, what they do, but I certainly feel like I have more energy throughout the day. It's not like I never had energy to begin with, but now I feel like it's my next evolution. So soon enough, I think I'm going to be telling a lot more people about it. I just had to make sure it worked for me. How can I, once again, give the value to someone else unless I know it works? But so far, so good.
Nice. Yeah, I've been using it for a while, but I use MCT oil usually. So I buy the one from BioTrust. I canceled my subscription because I stopped using it for a little while, but the orders kept coming. And like a little while ago, there was like probably 6 unopened boxes, and I'm like,
with the way you travel.
And it's just like, okay, if you're gone for like a month, another box shows up. So I've been using that. And what's the other thing? Why am I blanking out on it? It's that stuff that's supposed to be good for your hair and your nails. I don't even remember, but the main thing is the MCT oil, and then I mix it with the other stuff. And I feel like I can fast longer. Now I've just kind of gotten used to fasting. Like I don't eat breakfast. I usually don't eat lunch. And then I can just hold off until like 6:30, 7 o'clock if I really need to. But at that point, you're just like, you're drained.
That's
you
really
need to eat, right? And then I'm kind of like more or less back on keto, and then been exercising almost every day as well. So but I feel that the energy thing is a big, especially with the exercise. I find that's the biggest thing. Obviously eating right is important, but the exercise, it's like once you start like getting a consistent routine, and then you take those rest days, after the rest days, you feel like $1 million. Like you feel like the Hulk ready to go smash something.
Right? I think it just puts you in a high frequency. But it's like accountability, knowing that I've attacked this at the beginning of the day, and then all of a sudden that's going to translate my performance and how I handle myself, how I'm going to be helping people around me, because then they're going to take your charisma, your energy, and whatever you're doing. Because sometimes you're an entrepreneur like myself, you gotta serve the viewers but give value, you got to make sure you're tip top all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and I do believe electrolytes, we kind of texted about this a day or two ago. I think that's very critical for intermittent fasting too. You got to have the right salts in you, or else it's just going to you're just going to burn out. Right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because you got sick with something. You were supposed to be here like about a week ago, and then you got flued up.
I never take the flu shot. I don't believe in that stuff.
I haven't taken one in years either.
I don't know what happened. I had a family gathering about a week ago. My parents just moved out of Brampton, and
congratulations to them.
Thank God. Yeah, no reason to go back there now. No. Except Angelo, by the way. Just thought I'd make that aware.
I'm kind of just stuck here for the time being. I'm not going to be permanent here.
He's traveling all the time anyway, everyone. So
I know. I'm usually not even here, but then it's like the moment you come back to Brampton, you realize like how shitty it is. Because you used to, well, you lived with your parents obviously, and we went to the same high school, but a lot in the city has changed. Like it's changed so much. First of all, they brought a lot of immigrants from just one place, so basically it's been colonized by people from India. There's really nothing else to even say about it. On one corner I pass every couple of days, you have the students from India who are protesting because they want to be able to stay here and get jobs or whatever. And it's like, what are you protesting for? Like, I get it. If I was from India, I would want to move here too. Right. So I don't blame them. But the problem is we got a severe immigration issue. They've taken advantage of it. Apparently there's even businesses that are giving people fake educations. Like they're literally creating fake schools to give these people a fake education to make it look like they're going to school. Hence why they're getting their visa to come here as a student, which is insane, first off. And then after that, they're being able to get like full-time jobs. Right. So that's kind of insane.
It's actually a topic I want to kind of bring up.
Yeah.
That kind of talks about this is people don't live in reality.
No.
There are exceptions to the rule in anything in life, but you have to look at the generality of things, and people are not able to accept that.
No, absolutely
right?
not.
It's like there are bad drivers in Brampton. It's considered one of the worst car insurance frauds in Canada.
I think it's considered the worst
in
North America.
But if I came away out of this conversation and say, well, I'm a good driver.
Yeah.
Nothing happens.
Yeah.
World hunger doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm eating fine. No, the fact of the matter is you may be a good immigrant that came here and is doing well, but in the generality of things, it's not doing well. It's becoming such a huge problem, and people are exploiting that.
It is, yeah. You said you almost got hit earlier driving through Brampton?
I just this guy turning left did not see me. I had to go on the right lane, and it is what it is. I mean, we got to be vigilant ourselves, right? And I have a story to talk about a little bit later on about a car situation many years ago that I actually wanted to bring up the last time I was here.
Bring it up now. Talk about it. Tell us what happened.
So crazy story, guys.
Yeah.
This was 2009. I'm with a girl. It was just labelized way too quick. We weren't giving it our all in the relationship. It was just there, partying, going out every weekend and all that. And I just finished college about a year and a bit from then. And it was a thunderstorming, rainy day. And I always say gut feeling never lies.
Yeah.
And I was just taking it easy at home. And she calls me and says, I want to hang out. And I said, I'm just going to need some personal time. And back then, even now, people think there's something wrong with that, but there truly is not. And, the cleanness comes out of her and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But also, on the fault of myself, I don't hold my ground and have standards, which is another topic we'd love to talk about later. And I said, okay, I'll come over and pick you up. I do, and it's like thunderstorming out there. I'm pretty sure it was that year, around that weekend, when there was a tornado that hit Woodbridge in Durham. I think it was 2009. When there was a huge tornado outbreak, and there was like 3 tornadoes within the GTA.
Yeah.
It was around that time. But anyway, pick her up, and I don't know where we were going. I think we were going to a restaurant, and it was right near the Brampton Hospital there on Sandalwood. And it's pouring rain, and there's a yellow coming up, and I'm going straight. And you always got to be careful on the car in front of you if they're going to go through the yellow or not. And the woman in front of me, she was in her 60s, put the brakes on in the yellow and stopped in the middle of the intersection.
Damn.
Right in the middle of the intersection.
Yeah.
Now, maybe at that time I'm an amateur driver, whatever. I did my very best to slam the brakes, and I nudged her a little bit. And no one ever teaches this stuff in school when it comes to what do you do.
Right.
And I got out. I made sure that she was okay. Her back was in pain, blah, blah, blah. And I called 911. And, ambulance came in. It's pouring rain out there. And then I could tell my girlfriend beside me, it's kind of like another topic I want to talk about is dating these days, is that the turning off of like, I don't want to be here with this guy because of what he caused.
Yeah.
But it's only perspective, right?
Right, of course.
And, the old woman gets taken away from the ambulance and all that. And I get ticketed. Fine. I have insurance. I'm like, okay, that's the end of it. I never told my parents this. And I just kept it quiet for a while. And then all of a sudden, my parents opened the mail because I was living with parents at that time many months ago and said, what happened?
Yeah.
What happened? And I'm sure you guys can all relate. Parents, when they see things on paper.
Oh, yeah, they lose it. And they didn't know about it,
Like if they didn't see you do your homework at home, they think there was no homework to be done at all. And then they'll just give you chores and all that. Yeah. So they saw the ticket, whatever, we argued, it is what it is. I take accountability, whatever. You think it's done there. Mm-hmm. Many months later, that woman that had into the accident is suing me beyond the actual liability coverage that I have.
Oh, wow.
Like, holy crap, this is insane. And once again, it comes
for a little
up.
tap.
A little tap. What happened was I had to get a lawyer up. Because they wanted more, like I said, I think they wanted like 4 or 5 million.
Yeah, normally I think liability
it's 1 million. Yeah,
1 million or 2 million, right? Or whatever.
And we got a lawyer. We did. It was like Suits. It was like Harvey Specter, Mike Ross, and then 2. It's not one of those big courtrooms. It was just one in like a conference room and all that.
Oh, okay. So it was like a not a.
They wanted to like settle.
Satellite. It was a satellite courtroom, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're replaying how everything went, and I'm making sure my story is practiced to make sure it is what it was. And it concluded, and I was like, okay. So I asked the lawyer, so what's going on? Like, yeah, I think you'll be fine. I'm like, okay, that's reassuring to know. I think that's what they're told to do. Let a few months slide by. And then the lawyer calls me back and says, oh, your case has been dropped. Oh, and I said, that's fantastic news. I said, what happened? You might be asking, what happened? So when I saw her at the conference room when we were doing the whole trial thing, she didn't say anything. Yeah. She was saying Zippo, but I knew she spoke English. Yeah. But of course, I'm just following my lawyer's lead and all that. She had like a neck brace around her neck.
This was months after?
Months after. Okay. So I was thinking, okay, I don't know. Yeah. At that time, you think of the best of that person because you think you did something wrong.
Right.
Apparently, there was surveillance caught on her property doing yard work and doing a lot of other stuff.
So they probably hired a private investigator.
Yes. So the case was dropped. On top of that, her son was in the Greek mafia.
Oh, okay.
And they needed a lot of money to have him cover debts. I swear to God, it's like a Sopranos episode.
That's crazy. And so they figured they'd use this car accident as an opportunity to get a bunch of money.
Yeah, and the son apparently was murdered, home invaded.
Oh, wow.
Because he owed money to this certain mafia group.
Oh, damn.
Now, I don't wish that upon anyone.
No.
But my God, from 2009 till like 2011, just lingering in the back of my mind. I'm like, what's going to come out of this? Like, I'm trying to save up for my own place. I didn't buy my place at that time. Yeah. I just got in the bank in 2010, and I'm just like, you tend to don't want to overthink things, but it was hard not to, being that young. I was like 25 at that time, right? So that was a story where I was like, that is like strictly out of a movie. Yeah. I swear to God, right? So I tell everyone, always have car coverage, have a dash cam, have everything. I don't want that to happen to anyone else.
I gotta install my dash cam. I have one because I did a sponsorship with Temu, which I probably wouldn't do again in the future, but they sent me a bunch of like free products to promote in the thing. I have the dash cam. I just never bothered to install it. So maybe later on
I fully recommend it, especially if you're traveling a lot.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. Plus, you never know sometimes I see shit on the road and like you don't want to miss it. And you want to like maybe include it in a video. Like you see a grizzly bear in a town or because that's not the first time that's happened, right? Just pull up into some random town in the mountains. All of a sudden there's a grizzly bear roaming around, right? And it's like, huh. Cool.
It was his fault. It wasn't mine.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what the dash cam is showing,
The grizzly did it. Don't you believe me? It's like, no.
He's an apex predator. You're just a simple human.
Yeah. But you literally never know what could happen.
Yeah. And for the record, that I still got booked for the accident itself. Right. It was just the suing. Because
technically you
rear-ended them from behind, so that still kind of bothered me.
You're
but
at fault.
That was like 6 years to get off my record. So it was easy peasy. But guys, just go with your gut feeling. You can't change it. You can't change I don't believe in regret. I believe in just the present, move forward. Everything is a learning experience. So I think the inner dialogue that you tell to yourself is very critical. You just learn from it and know, therefore I won't be doing this again.
Yeah, for sure. So, it's kind of like certain relationships, right? You learn from certain relationships and you kind of figure out, well, I won't be dating somebody like that again, right? Or I wouldn't be doing that in a relationship again. Or maybe I won't be trying that move in bed again because that was painful, right? Just a joke. But like you were saying about relationships, what did you want to say about it?
Oh, so there's this podcast that I just came across a few years ago. It's called Fresh and Fit. You may have heard of them.
Okay, yeah.
They teach masculinity.
They're two black guys, right?
Yes.
Yes, okay. I've seen them on, I think, Timcast IRL.
The one thing about them and Andrew Tate as well, is that a lot of these clips of these guys are taken out of context.
Okay.
And funny enough...
Like workout guys? Or guys, or of these two guys?
These two guys, but also Andrew Tate, is that they take things out of... It's like... daily, like I think Jay Leno and David Letterman were the first to do this in a comedic outlook where they would make fun of people, but it was just comedy. They're not trying to trash people down, where they would take certain things out of context for laughs.
Right.
But for Andrew Tate, as well as Fresh and Fit, what they do is they take the most dramatic things out of it, and then only that's what's clipped.
Yeah.
And then it makes them look bad than what it is.
Right.
So a lot of people don't know. I met Angelo in soccer for our team on Sunday. We have locker room talks. So we're just competitive beasts. We are just meant to be competitive.
Right.
We're hairless apes. What can I say? Imagine someone were to record without us knowing in the locker room of what we said, and then just clipped certain things out of context when it actually is, and then all of a sudden we're the bad guys.
Yeah.
That's essentially what bothers me. But anyways, back to the matter at hand. What these guys do is they would bring girls on the show, and they would say, hey, what's your previous relationship? Where are you from? How old are you? What's your education? Blah, blah, blah. And if there was a girl that had a relationship before, whether it's 1 year, 2 year, whatever, they said, what did he do wrong in the relationship? And what did you do wrong in the relationship? And they always have a huge list of what they did wrong.
Yeah.
But there was never anything that they did wrong.
Right.
Even I know from previous relations I've been in that there are stuff that I could have done better.
Yeah, of course.
But I think there's a lot of narcissistic behavior when it comes to these dating shows of clear cut. Where is the accountability there? You're going for the exact same person over and over and over again. I actually made a clip yesterday about, I really don't understand why people are getting dating advice from people that have been multiple times have been divorced. That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But yet we idolize these people.
Yeah.
Right? So it's interesting, but Fresh and Fit, those guys, they really talk about masculinity and having standards, and Andrew Tate is the same way. They're actually really good friends.
Yeah.
And they say if you're going to get a job, the job requires you to do this and this and this. That's the standard. I do not understand why these days in the dating side of things is where if there's a standard, it's mistaken as insecurity.
Right.
And it kind of gets to me. I'm like, really? That was always there at the beginning of the relationship, but now you're all of a sudden bringing it up now. It's a sense of control. And I think, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? So it's just an interesting thing I've noticed these days with dating is that reciprocation is just no longer there anymore.
No.
It's a one-sided thing while the other doesn't realize it, or they do and they just don't want to own up to it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I found in the past, so I've dated some girls that were just like, they didn't know what they wanted, and then you waste all this time dating them, and then by the end, all of a sudden, their expectation of something changes, right? So, for example, I remember I was dating this one girl, and I brought her to the Dominican Republic. We went to a nice resort, whatever. We spent a week there, and after we had gotten back, she started saying, so she was never very like affectionate, so to say, like not very. She would never be the one to initiate anything. I would have always had to do it. And when we got back, all of a sudden, I mean, there was more to the story, but she's like, all of a sudden, oh, we got to talk, right? I'm like, oh, that's not good.
Oh, boy.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but what? So we go to, I don't remember where we even went. So we're sitting there talking, and she's like, yeah, I don't think this is working out. You're not very affectionate. Like when we were in the Dominican, you weren't very affectionate. I'm like, what are you talking about? Right? Like, we were affectionate in the bedroom multiple times, right? If you get what I mean. But like, did you want, like, when we were sitting, for example, in the lobby having drinks, what did you want me to just jump on you and straddle you in the middle of the lobby? Like, I don't understand what you're trying to tell me, when first of all, you never actually set any sort of expectation of what you wanted. There was never a standard, because anytime I ever asked you anything, I don't know, right? And it's like, that's not really an answer. Like, give me I'm the type of person, if you don't give me a fucking answer, then I just don't.
Can't read minds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can't read your friggin' mind, right? So it's like, tell me what you want. Tell me, like, you would ask them questions about them, about what they want, their character, their personality, and it was like, I don't know. It's like, okay, well, clearly you don't know anything. Are you stupid? Right? Like, does your brain not function? Can you not think of like the things that you want? Right? So I don't know. Some people gotta vocalize more, and this, like you said, it goes both ways.
They
right?
want, and I'm just using your example, but generally speaking, I think what women want is both masculine and feminine of the guy, but that doesn't work like that.
No kidding. Yeah.
You will lose respect for that guy once he becomes that feminine, which I believe Trudeau's a good example of it. But you got, like, we're very easy to understand. Like, we provide and protect. I believe it's in our DNA to do that, right?
Yeah.
I come home, she cooks and cleans and gives me inner peace, which is why I've been with, my girlfriend for a long time. She understands that, and she enjoys it. She doesn't feel like it's a chore. She does that because she has that genuine burning desire to support me.
Well, it's kind of like she's fulfilling her duty, right? Especially if she actually wants to do that, right? And there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. And I kind of find like this whole weird version of this new feminist movement just literally makes no sense, right? This women independence and equality. It's like, you already have all of that, right? But I mean, like you're saying, it sounds like in your relationship, it's working, like you're doing what you got to do, and then she's fulfilling her duty by helping you and doing the other things that need to get done, right? Like, you guys both got to eat, right? So,
yeah, and you know what? Like, she, like, I'm just as innocent as she is. Like, there was a little bit of feminist ideology that she had at the beginning, but I did believe, and it's a risk on me, that I was able to change her, because when she was around me, that's when you knew that she respected my lead. I always had, what do they call it? A man with a plan, right? I always knew where to go. We're going to go hiking. We're going to go here. We're going to go there. Yeah. Don't worry. You want to reassure. It's just hardwired in you to do that, right? And then, of course, the habits, the consistency, like we talked about earlier in that, it's like, okay, well, as a woman, I do like this. And I don't feel like I'm being held back and, why do I have to be submissive, which is such a triggering word for people. I don't understand. I'm pretty sure, Angelo, you and I, like, our grandparents were like, he went out to work, and a lot of the grandmothers stayed at home. That's what a way it was before the whole feminist movement many years ago, right? I don't really understand that, but it's a narrative. I know it's a narrative, and I just think there's leaders, and then there's followers. When people don't know what to go for, like long-term or short-term goals, when no one has anything going on, they'll just follow anyone else, and they think it's the right thing to do, right? And then they'll just go along with it, but they're being brainwashed. They're being indoctrinated.
I was going to say, a lot of people, it's ideology, right? So the thing that I'm finding, this kind of funny, this goes more into politics and kind of this feminist ideology.
Yeah, they all are one thing.
This woke ideology that's been kind of happening, a lot of the funniest thing that's going to happen is that these people are going to eliminate their own sides anyways. Because first of all, if you have a very independent feminist woman who doesn't want to be with a man, or refuses to be with a man rather, she's never going to have children. That's the end of the lineage, right? Whereas all the conservatives want 4 kids, whatever it might be. A lot of the liberals who decide that they don't want to get married, or they prefer to just keep doing more abortions, you're just going to eliminate your side anyways, right? So you're not actually like, you have no future. There's no future. Once you're dead, that's it, right? You're going to literally sit there in the hospital room dying alone. And who's going to come hold your hand? Who's going to come and talk to you? Nobody. Your kids are not going to be there because they don't exist. You decided to never. Is that when, I have to imagine that would be the realization to when you know you fucked up, right? When you made the mistake of deciding that, well, I'm going to just do this whole independence thing, sitting in my hot tub smoking weed by myself and getting wasted all day long, right? When everybody else decided to go and get married and have kids, right? It's an ideological thing. And I'm finding that a lot, right? I'm seeing it a lot now. It's kind of funny. Yeah, what do you think about like where we're headed in North America right now, like in terms of politics, with Trudeau still being in office? What do you think?
I think the biggest win was a month ago when Trump was elected. That just gave such hope to many, including myself. And I think people got to realize, whether you like it or not, they're the most powerful country in the world, and their economy is the most powerful, in the world as well. And we're neighbors to them. So we got to help out each other. So I do believe the next move, and the brightest move, is to have Trudeau step down, and Pierre is speaking logically and not gaslighting. Have the election immediately, take initiative, and that's what it is. I mean, we're talking what, 9 years, 2015, since he's been in office. Like, I just don't get it. There's been nothing positive besides legalizing weed that I can think of that this guy has done.
Yeah, it's funny because I had another friend the other day. We were talking about it too, and that was literally the only thing he said. That's all anybody ever says that he's done in 9 years in office. They always claim that they've done. Oh, now it's the GST rebate thing, right? And it's like, great, we're getting $250 in April, and the average person might be saving $100 over the next 2 months, right? And it's kind of funny because I think it was Kat Canada. She's pretty popular and political on X, and she showed a receipt for groceries because they keep saying, oh, you're going to save your money on your groceries now. It's like, he literally got community noted because most groceries are already tax exempt. We don't pay tax on like meat and cheese. I think the only tax is like on like chips or stuff like that, like packaged processed garbage that you really shouldn't be eating anyways. But now it's Christmas season, people are going to be eating them. Yeah. But it's kind of like, she showed a receipt, it was like 30 cents. And she's like, oh, what are you guys going to do with your 30 cents over the next 2 months, right? And I'm like, I'll go buy a piece of candy and hope that the candy is exempt, so that way it's actually affordable.
And, when you said that, I just thought of it. Yeah. It was a couple years ago where we were given those stimulus checks in Canada and the United States, and one of the entrepreneurs I follow in the States, he was interviewing people on the Miami beach, and this girl had like 3 kids, and she's like, yeah, I got a stimulus check for like $6,000. Nice. And then he's like, so how much was the trip? And she's like, it was like $5,500. Well, it's like, that's trip, exactly right? What's going to happen. Yeah. We talked about this offline before we got on air.
People are going to spend it.
If I'm all about drugs, I'm spending money on drugs. You give me this check, I'm going to spend more on drugs. That's no solution. There is no accountability. There has to be it's against standards. Isn't it funny how it all works out that word needs to be used in everything to hold your ground? Like, it's unbelievable.
It's crazy. Yeah. Like I feel like people are just going to get these checks and then just basically spend it on something really stupid instead of like, I don't know, maybe paying putting it down on some debt or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's like $250 really isn't, it's not life-changing anymore. Back in the day, it would have been like, when we were younger, it would have been like, wow, $250. Like I could do a lot with $250 back in 2008, right? Not anymore though. Like $250 is like a week's, not even a week's worth of groceries for most people. Like it's gotten out of control and out of hand. And it's so funny because like in Parliament, this is like, they're just using this to constantly, because the Conservatives, their whole thing is axe a tax. And what they're talking about is this ridiculous carbon tax, which is now being included in basically all of our products, right? So they keep, the Liberals keep saying, well, 8 out of 10 Canadians are getting more than they're actually paying back. And it's like, well, you're talking about the direct carbon tax that you're paying on your bills, which would be your gas, food, your household bills, stuff like that, the carbon tax that's implemented in there. But what about the truck driver who has to pay the tax and then doesn't get the money back? That fee is now being included in a cantaloupe, for example. If he's transporting cantaloupes, your cantaloupes now cost more money because that truck driver has to pay, or the trucking company, somebody's paying for this carbon tax in fuel and whatever else it might be. And it's like there's so many different steps along the way that it's like it's multiple times that you're paying it, hence the reason why we've now gotten to the point where everything is so expensive, right? And they're claiming it's not the reason why the cost of your groceries is going up, because they're claiming it's climate change. What are you talking about?
He had his chance to do all of these changes,
absolutely.
just like Biden and Kamala. They had 4 years to do it. Obviously didn't show. Like it should be like, we have to think critical. Like critical thinking here has to come in play. If I'm going to go to the US politics for a second, if Trump in 2016 to 2020 was considered one of the best economies ever by facts, not feelings.
Yeah.
And then
actual hard numbers. And then you have 2020 to 2024 being dog shit. Yeah.
Okay. There's never been an election in U.S. history to have one after the other, and then they're battling out for the next election. And yet people are still delusional. Yeah. But people don't even listen to the question. It's like, what is more important? Hence, listen to what I'm saying, more important. Yeah. World War III, foreign exchange policies, or abortion rights.
Right.
And then they don't listen to the whole question. They only listen to somewhat of the question. Yeah.
And
I get it. Climate change is important, but it's not on top of the totem pole.
And everything also tends to get lumped into the same thing, right? So, for example, I remember I was on a trip somewhere and I had stopped at a hotel and I was talking with these two, this gay couple from British Columbia. Go figure, everybody there is gay. But they were talking about like, oh, Orange Man bad. And they were like literally like getting up in my face. They wouldn't let me speak, right? Like even though I was like, basically it turned into a debate, and every time I was trying to rebuttal, I'd literally have to tell them, calm down. Do you want me to answer the question, or are you just going to keep yelling in my face?
Yeah.
And they kept yelling about, oh, he's going to take away gay rights and abortion rights and this and this. And it's like I asked them something and they literally lumped gay rights and abortion together. I'm like, first of all, those are two completely separate topics. And you're gay. What do you care about abortion, right? You're not going to go and knock up a woman because you're gay. Right? So like they're not even the same thing. You're just, for some reason, everything is getting lumped together. The other thing about the, in my opinion, how they managed to fake the good economy when Biden is still in office to this day. He'll be out soon. But over the last few years, the thing that people are not realizing, so I know this for a fact because I know somebody who works for Brafasco, which is a very large company that supplies stuff for contractors and things like that, right? To build buildings, basically. So what I know is that things did in fact slow down. What they had to do was, to maintain revenue, was increase the prices. So it's not that the volume is increasing. Things have in fact slowed down, but the numbers are the same because they've increased the prices. Do you not think that economically, all these companies you even see on the stock exchange would have had to do the same thing? So it's not that the economy, it's not more goods that are being produced, right? It's in fact less goods. They're just charging more. So the numbers look the same, right? Because they got to maintain a certain level of revenue for shareholders. That's how they faked it, right? Which is not a good economy and not an improving economy. That's actually recession, right? By producing less, you're essentially heading into a recession, right? So
it's black and white, but yeah, apparently it's just gray.
Yeah, and some people don't. More brown
gray skies,
at this point.
Brown and gray, all collided.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll see what happens.
I'm very optimistic.
I am too. Absolutely.
I think the future looks bright.
Yeah. Yeah, I think things are going to get a lot better. I think they're going to get a lot worse here in Canada first before they get better, because obviously we don't have the election. Like yesterday, for example, they took away more guns. They banned 320 more models of guns. And it was so stupid because some of them, so I don't know if you're aware, but they're going to take away these guns and then send them to Ukraine. By the time they get there, the war's going to be over anyways, for one. But it's like, let me bring this.
Oh, and by the way, since you mentioned the wars, there were no wars under Trump's administration.
No new wars.
No new wars.
Yeah, there was existing
wars, but there was no new wars. And yet we're supporting other countries. I have nothing wrong with supporting other countries, but we come first.
Yeah.
Our foundation is our land itself.
Right.
How can it doesn't make any sense.
If we're not okay, how can we go and fix another country that's not okay? That's way worse off. It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Like it doesn't matter what country it is. It can be a country that I am born from. I'm going to think outside the box and look, generally speaking, this is what needs to be done in order for us to be okay. But apparently still people don't get it.
No, they clearly don't get it.
Emotions over facts. It's just what it is.
Yeah. It's just no logic, right? So to me, it's kind of funny. So for example, now we have the whole situation in Ukraine and Russia. Things appear to be on the verge of winding down because it seems like all of a sudden Trump's coming into office.
A lot of changes have happened.
And Zelensky's like, well, I'm willing to negotiate now. And I'm just like, why didn't you do that 2 years ago? Why? Because he was being told not to, under no circumstances. It was specifically Boris Johnson, who was the Prime Minister of UK at the time, was specifically telling Zelensky, you do not go to the negotiating table. So they continued a war for 2 years, devastated Ukraine, killed probably hundreds of thousands of men, women, children, whatever, maybe even 1 million. I don't know. Tons of people have fled the country. Ukraine will probably never be the same for at least 100 years, right? Now, all of a sudden, they're willing to go to the negotiation table? Like, what the hell is that? So why did you continue the war for 2 years? Why didn't you just agree to at least go to the table? You didn't even have to agree on anything. Just meet, figure out what the other party wants, right? Figure out if you can negotiate something, but they were told not to for one reason or another. I don't get it. And then I was even having arguments with people because they're like, what, you think Ukraine should give up their land? I'm like, no, the war should have never started. Putin's a piece of shit, just like Zelensky. In my opinion, they both suck, right? The issue that I have is that by you telling me that, oh, what, you think Ukraine should give up its land to Russia? No, I think
they're missing the whole point.
Right. I think human beings are worth more than a piece of dirt or rock. Right? So you're willing to sacrifice flesh and blood, people's children, brothers, fathers, to go out there and die for a piece of rock in a war that they will never win unless we show up, right? Which, God forbid, I don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
No Canadian boots on the ground, no American boots on the ground.
You have to just use analogies as examples as the best as you can. Like if I'm feeding my family and I got no money, I'm in debt severely, but I decide to go 3 doors down and support this family, that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
The foundation belongs here. My legacy, our legacy of our last name, as we talked about earlier, we got to make sure we're leaving something behind. But that's what people got to realize. This is what's happening. You're supporting a neighbor 3 or 4 doors down, helping them as best as possible, but you're struggling. Your whole family is struggling, and you're doing the wrong thing ethically. I think ethics and integrity has got to come back. Glad censorship is gone. Shout out to Elon for that. I forgot to talk about that earlier. He played a big role. I think when X he just laid off all the woke peeps. I think it was that was a big bright.
Still there, but
I mean, majority. It's like anything, right?
It's a big company, right?
It's a big company. I think they have no choice. They're not going to get a job anywhere else, right? So I do believe when he did that move, and he was talking about the fake votes, apparently with Tucker Carlson in California, how people are just saying, oh, it's voters fraud. supposedly when they were voting, they didn't ask for ID.
Oh yeah.
That was like, wow.
Yeah. So there was somebody had pointed out that all of the states Kamala won does not require voter ID, which is batshit crazy in my opinion. There was actually a guy here, I believe he recorded himself. It doesn't make sense at all, because you get one vote, right? I can't go to one. So this is how like this could potentially work. So I would show up at one station, vote for myself, and then I'd go to another station, and then I would vote as you, because all I have to do is give them a name, right? There was actually a guy who like recorded himself doing it. I believe it was in California, where he was showing up and he's telling the lady, she's like, "What's your name?" And she's like checking the voter roll or whatever, and he gives her the name. He's like, "Yeah, my name is Bob Thomas," or it might not be, and she's looking at him like, "Huh?" And he kept like repeating it because they weren't understanding that, yes, this is my name, but it could not be, right? Because you literally don't have to prove who you are, right? And it's just, the
girl's like, why is he hesitating and doesn't even know his name?
He doesn't know his name? This doesn't make any sense. It's like, no, bitch, you're just too stupid to realize what he's doing right now. But no, he's trying to prove a point. Apparently there was even a Canadian who went down there and voted in the US election, which is so funny. It's like, yeah, no wonder why they're just letting all these illegal aliens cross the border, come into the United States, and then they can basically go and, like
vote. Venezuelan gangs or something like that.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they're taking over.
Yeah, there was that case where one of them was using Biden's administration, and then he was put to New York City. And then he did a crime, and then he was put to Georgia, and then he murdered that nurse.
Lincoln Riley, right? Yeah,
Lincoln Riley.
She was jogging or something.
Yeah, and I'm like, where's the accountability on that?
No, there is none. You can't expect the Democrats to have accountability for anything.
Like, I couldn't believe what I heard. That was a hard story to
that was
watch.
Brutal.
Like, you were given a jail-free card for this person. You effed up. You didn't take accountability. You let him do what he needed to do. He committed some sort of small felony in New York, and then he was pushed down to like Florida, happens to show up in Georgia, and then do this. It just does not make sense.
No.
That is complete murder, but no one's taking accountability for that.
No.
I really don't get it.
Well, the guy did go to jail.
Well,
thank God.
But what about the administration?
Yeah.
Where's the paper trail?
Well,
like,
it's clear that
it's all about votes.
Yeah, they want to go after the good guys, right? So people like Kyle Rittenhouse. You have now Daniel Penny, who's going to be put on trial, and then we'll see, because he literally potentially saved people's lives, right? I don't think he meant to kill the dude who was losing his mind on the New York subway. I don't know if you followed the story, but he was the one who put the chokehold. He was a vet. He put a guy who was losing his mind, threatening to kill people on the subway. So he put the guy in a chokehold and then ended up killing him, right? But he literally saved people's lives. And now people are saying, well, if he goes to jail, not a single good Samaritan will ever do anything again to help somebody. They're going to be like, I'm not risking my freedom. Right? I can't stop this guy from killing this innocent woman, because now I might go to jail for saving her. Right? It's like, at what point does this all end? Right? Like the Democrats are just literally, in the US, they're just ruining everything.
And legacy media is a big part of this too. They're all like, I don't know if it's blackmail or they all just want to have that fear mongering that's been going on from the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And we could even say it's been going on for years. It just opens people's eyes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But they take things out of context. Right?
Of course,
even during the election, there was a lot of censorship on some of Kamala Harris's interviews.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the way it was like way it was
stuff
clipped,
was taken
right?
out. Like, that's manipulation.
Yeah.
What happened with that? Right? And I do believe, like, your big role in this is that podcasts are the new journalists now.
Oh yeah,
it's fantastic. It's great, and there's no scripts. There's no like, oh, you can only ask this and this and this, or you can't do this and this and this. It's just free of whatever we're talking about. Take it as you will, but that's freedom of speech right there.
Right.
Right. It's why is Joe Rogan having all these views? Why are there more views on JD Vance as Vice President Kamala? Why don't I just take a look at all the comments? just take a look at that and break it down for yourself, and maybe just have curiosity, because curiosity will save your life and will save your mind. You're like I swear, I just love the Matrix movie more and more the last few years, because it all is coming to sense right now. I swear, it's becoming
reality, right? That's crazy. But no, you're right. I think Joe Rogan is essentially the future, the most important journalist of our lifetime. Elon Musk obviously had a very big part. I think Rumble doesn't get as much credit as it actually deserves, because the way the platform was set up. Now, in my opinion, I think Rumble could do a lot better if they were to simply begin promoting different genres outside of politics. And I think they're starting to do that, but they're still too small in comparison to YouTube. YouTube's a juggernaut, right? Everybody uploads on YouTube because YouTube is the biggest platform in the world. And I think a lot is going to change on YouTube. I'm noticing big changes with YouTube, right? Especially now that Joe Rogan is back to uploading there. Everyone else is growing massively. You're seeing a lot of these moderate and right-wing podcasts that are exploding, and this is now happening simply because Trump won the election, right? Trump was kind of like the game changer. Everybody was kind of holding their breath, waiting to see if he could win, and now all the advertisers are coming back, because YouTube always claimed, I don't believe this for a second, I think YouTube was lying to everybody, but I asked YouTube, I have a contact at YouTube, and I asked them directly, and I said, my biggest concern right now with YouTube is censorship. And
it's not right.
Yeah. And I feel like, I told her specifically, I feel like the target is the right wing or moderates that simply do not agree with the woke left, far left ideology. Right? And she said, no, it's not YouTube, it's the advertisers. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know advertisers have the power to completely delete channels, right? So what you're telling me, that doesn't add up, right? So you're telling me it's the advertisers that don't want to advertise on this specific talking point, which most of the talking points are like, it's just normal. Like, there's nothing crazy. There's not racist. There's no violence involved. You're not talking about like a Nazi talking about Nazi shit, right? Like, we're talking about normal people talking about what they believe in, and they happen to be a right-wing conservative, and they're just not, they're being deleted. So it seems like that's kind of ending, because now you're seeing what's happening with X, where Elon's completely done a 180 with it and taken it from this shitstorm to now turning it and making it head into the right direction in terms of, giving people their free speech back. A lot of like, it's kind of funny though, because like the left wing seems like, in their minds, they seem to think that X, formerly Twitter, is specifically an echo chamber for right-wing people, when it's literally for everyone, right? Like, they don't seem to understand that it's like, no, Elon respects freedom of speech enough that it goes both ways for everyone. Whether you're a moderate, left-wing, right-wing, it doesn't matter. Free speech is free speech at the end of the day. Now, there does need to be some form of censorship to protect children on a platform like that, because we don't want things like child P-word being on Twitter. So there does have to be a limit, and there has to be a line in the sand.
I think that parents have to be accountable during this time too. Like, my girlfriend being a server, I couldn't tell how many times, she's come home from her job, and I said, how was the shift and all that, she tells me how much she's made and all that, but she always notices that whenever parents bring their kids, they're always on their phone.
The parents are on the phone.
The parents on the phone, their kids are on the phone, and I think parents should be better at this as well, right? I mean, we didn't grow up with phones.
No.
We just went outside and play, whatever. Right? Now, what do you expect the kid's going to do if you're giving him the phone at a restaurant? You think maybe just to take away the phone and then just have them have a discussion, have family time and all that. But I think parents also have gotten lazy the last few years as well. And there are great parents out there, but in a lot of them are just letting them use the phone, go on TikTok, go on all this social media stuff. I mean, it's simply put, if I don't like watching something, I'm not going to watch it.
Right.
But kids don't know any better when they're that young. They're curious. They're self-aware more than anything out there. Like, they're such self-aware creatures. They're always going to be looking. No one knows what they're going to do for the rest of their life at like 7, 8, 9, 10, 14 years old, right? So you give them a device, they're going to use it. I don't understand where you just say, you know what, I'm going to put this aside. Let's have a dinner and let's not look at our phones. I really don't understand why that's not hard enough. I mean, I think family values and principles and standards just got to be put back. I understand, like, you know, kids are on the phones and all that. I get it. It happens. But I do think parents have got to be a little bit more, there's got to be consequences. I don't think there's enough consequences.
For sure. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, back in the day, like you said, we didn't have these phones. We were forced to actually have conversation, or you were forced to go out and play with because you physically had to actually go to your friend's house to see what they were up to. You couldn't text them or call them, right? So like you had to go around the block and be like, oh, I had a good friend, Marvin. I would go to his house. Oh, can Marvin come out? Right? And then Marvin would come out of his house, right? We never really called each other. I mean, at one point we did. I mean,
the home phone with the phone book, but the point is you're not having it with you the whole time. You're just up the street. You made it aware to your parents that I'm going to be out during this time, and you knew when the curfew was going to be, because if you know you didn't, your dad is going to give you a nice little smacking, right? But that's the thing. You got to have like accountability and consequences. I mean, I'm pretty sure one of our first jobs that we ever worked, we had the punch in and punch out clock. Yeah. Why do you think that was invented? Because people are exploiting the rules of breaks. Kidding. So they have to do that. It sucks. But hey, you got to make it fair for everyone. And I think we just got to bring that back in parental guidance to their kids, and then obviously relationships, and as well as society, for goodness sakes, right? But I do believe that this is a huge start, and the last few months have only gotten better, and we know that you and I can't save everyone. You can give as much wisdom, you can give as much life experience, you can give them all of these sources that's going to help them out, but you cannot forge the signature of that person. At the end of the day, they're going to consume whatever they're going to do on their offline hours, and that's it. But we just got to get ourselves out there and just do our best to open people's minds, because this indoctrination's just crazy. I feel like it's gone way too far. When I know people who go to Catholic school, for example, and they're in class. So in Catholic school, do you remember there was always a cross in every room? Okay, so now what they started doing was they still have the cross, but right next to it they have the rainbow flag, the LGBTQ plus whatever flag right next to it. That is the opposite of what the cross is. That's what it is.
Yeah. So first of all, it's blasphemy, right? Because Catholicism does not agree with the LGBTQ ideology. We agree that you are human beings, you deserve to live, but at the end of the day, Catholicism straight up says that you are a sinner. So why is the flag right next to my God? Like, first of all, that flag, it doesn't represent a nation. It doesn't represent an idea. It represents sex, right? Or am I wrong about this? It's essentially
you need
sex.
Spiritual values and beliefs to believe what is right. And that is the opposite of what they're trying to do. And they're conforming. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that are just conforming. They don't want anything to do with this, but they're losing their integrity. And they're like, how do you live with that every day, knowing what you're doing? How can I take you seriously now that you're doing that?
I don't know. Like I've said many times before, I got no issues with anybody in that community. I personally don't care. If you're an adult, you can decide what you want to do with your own life. The issue is that, first of all, it's directly affecting children now in schools, and you're also conflating your flag on the same level as my God. That I have an issue with, right? So it's this whole ideology thing, is that there always seemed to be an invisible line that wasn't crossed back in the day. Growing up, we didn't have these issues. We both went to the same Catholic school. I never saw any of this. This was never a thing, right? Now it's completely different. We got kids in classes roaming around with tails, right? They're literally installing litter boxes for kids to go to the bathroom in because they're cats. No, that doesn't make any sense. And I know people, like, if they make comments towards the kids, they'll get in trouble.
They'll get offended, and who knows, they may lose their career.
So I have a funny story. I won't say their name or anything, but they work in I think it was a Catholic school, or actually it was a public school or something. So there was a kid who was claiming that they identify as a panda. So this person that I know works in the cafeteria. So this kid who was claiming to be this panda or whatever came into the cafeteria and asked for like a chicken wrap or something. And the person who worked there was like, no, you can't have that. Pandas don't eat that, right? And then somebody like literally took this person aside and said, you can't say that. You're going to get in trouble. You can't say that. And she's like, well, what do you mean? She's not a fucking panda, right? It's a girl. It's a human being. She's not a panda. Stop telling these kids.
Halloween is only once a year.
Right. Like you can't stop telling these kids that they're something else, right? It's
You reminded me of that documentary, Matt Walsh, What is a Woman? something similar to what you described was that.
Yeah. And it's like, it's funny. We're laughing about it, but these people take it seriously, right? Like, no, the kid's a panda.
It's just like I said, it's entitlement. It's being offended so easily without a backbone.
Oh, offended over everything.
Then, but it all starts with the hierarchy. Mm-hmm. It all starts with that workplace or that church that is allowing having this flag on it. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Right? I remember there was a podcaster, I think he made a book. His name is Rob Dial. And he was commenting on this. He's like, this is just ludicrous. He's like, imagine if I told my son at the end of, going to bed, I'm reading him bedtime stories. And I said, hey, do you know behind that closet, there's a monster. Don't open that. And he said that for years and years and years and years. He's never going to look at that closet because he was told that there was a monster in there. And then when you explain the ideology of this over and over and over again, just like legacy media, from the news at 9 or at 5 o'clock, all of a sudden that becomes the truth. It's definitely not it's like people got to open up. Like you got to just broaden your horizons here and just carry curiosity. It will save your life. It will save your soul. A lot of these celebrities 100%. Have sold their soul.
Well, they're getting paid, right? So the what I heard was Kamala's campaign. So when they brought these celebrities, they had to pay them to show up. And
anyone should watch J-Lo's speech about supporting Kamala. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen.
I heard something about it. I'd never watched it.
There was no emotion. There was no conviction. It was just reading off something without some scripted. Sort of. It was so scripted. And I'm like, where were you supporting P. Diddy? You were nowhere to be found. You were supporting Kamala.
Oh boy. Yeah, it's crazy.
Hollywood is upside down.
There was the one. Who was the celebrity that I think her. Like the screen stopped work. Was it Cardi B? It might have been Cardi B. It was like a big rally and the prompter stopped working and she didn't know what to say. And then finally 30, 40 seconds later, somebody ran up with their cell phone and was like, oh, this is what you need to say. And it was so awkward. It's like, dude, you're a performer and you can't figure out what to say to the crowd. They
don't even know what to believe in. They just got a paycheck.
Because it's so fake. Everything about Kamala was so fake.
And they still lost.
And no wonder why. I guess the whole you're Hitler didn't work anymore.
No. They also had Obama. They also had Clintons. And they still couldn't win. Oh, they were trying every single weapon possible, apparently.
They were the best ones, right? Liz Cheney, all the people you want that you would expect to win. Not people like RFK Jr. or Vivek Ramaswamy or Elon himself. Joe Rogan even. Come on, Joe Rogan was probably the most influential person he knew exactly what he was doing days before the actual election, just days before. And he offered to do it for Kamala.
Yeah,
and
I remember that.
They couldn't come up to an agreement on how they wanted to do it.
I think she was doing some sort of rally in Houston. He's in Austin. Right. Are you telling me you couldn't fit something within that?
I think 3-4 hours away.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
If you really want the support of your people, you do whatever it takes.
She wouldn't have been able to handle it. She needed to do the fake cut up interviews that they only asked certain questions. It's kind of like when early on, they were always asking Joe Biden questions about ice cream. And it's like, why are you asking the leader of the free world about ice cream? Don't you have any more important questions? Were things that good when Biden first started was first in the White House? That all you had to ask him about was ice cream, not things about the economy or the border or anything else. No. Ice cream was the most important. And then when they ask Trump things, they're just like, deliberately trying to sabotage him most of the time. Right, they're trying to get him to say the stupid things, right? Because we all know Trump will go off
and clip it out of context once again, right? To make him look bad.
That's exactly what they did it for so long. I remember for years, even still now, we keep hearing, oh, he's a racist, he's transphobe. And there's people who legitimately believe on the left that they're about to get drafted into some kind of civil war when Trump comes into office. That people are American citizens are going to get deported. Things like that.
The rumors were that there could have been a civil war if he got assassinated. That's what a lot of people were saying.
Oh, for sure.
And that movie just came out this year, which was really good. That happened to be just around the time where that incident happened. But that picture,
which movie were you?
It was called
about?
Civil War.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Where
I think
Kirsten,
okay.
it was okay, but I get the point of what they were trying to do. I think the trailer showed something totally different. Mm-hmm. I get it, but that picture of him just standing up like this.
Oh yeah,
that is legacy.
Yeah.
As far as the U.S., who does that gets shot
and
has the courage to stand up. That's like guys like 75 years old plus.
Yeah,
this guy's like he is just you got to have disruptors in this world. And what I mean by disruptors is question everything. Mm-hmm. Like have a little bit of paranoia, but not like where you're just conspiracy on every single thing and you become mad. You got to have that Elon Musk. You got to have the Trumps. You got to have the Rogans. You got to have Patrick Bet-David, another guy I like a lot. His election stream, I stayed up till like 3 o'clock in the morning watching. He was I think one of the most besides him and Charlie Kirk, like the most views on stream on the right as far as that election night goes, right? But you need guys like that. You need guys like Andrew Tate. You need guys like they're going to be polarizing. I get it, but polarizing in a way that will make you think. Okay, I don't like him as much, but the facts are X, Y, Z.
Yeah,
let's break.
You got to know
down.
when someone's right.
Yeah,
right. So,
I just that's all you got to do is just question things that just doesn't make sense. Don't let it just
like, for example, the assassination attempt itself. I mean,
I got a lot of questions on that.
Me too. Like we all know that guy who actually was up on the roof was, in my opinion, I think it was a patsy. I think it was set up.
He was in a BlackRock commercial.
Right. Yeah.
Like, isn't that insane?
It makes you ask a lot of questions.
Like a background actor for a small commercial.
Yeah. Like, I mean, in my opinion, it was, I would put that attempted assassination on the same level of the JFK assassination.
And 9/11, what'd you say?
I guess. I don't know. I've always questioned 9/11, right? Like I won't fully accept the narrative, but I do understand.
But it gets you thinking.
But it does get you thinking.
Right? That's all I want people to do is just think.
Yeah.
Like, this doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. Why is it?
Yeah, why don't these things add up? And then sometimes you kind of like learn things many years later and I didn't think about that. So for example, like the 9/11.
Like BLM.
The what?
Like BLM, the same thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you got to question everything those guys are doing or what they're up to or who's running them because that whole group was just full of scams, right? Like all the leaders, all the founders were essentially scam artists. But when it came to 9/11, the one thing that I kind of thought about it recently because in the footage, a lot of people always question. If you slow it down, you can see kind of like the explosions coming out the side. And then I learned something recently that I didn't know. When concrete heats up, it explodes. So is that what we're seeing, or was there something else? Right. So I'm trying to just play like the logical, neutral narrative that obviously it was a terrorist attack. It was one of the worst things that has happened. There's still nothing as bad has happened since 9/11. I think 9/11 was the biggest catalyst that really monumentally changed the world, right? So I always try and think about it from the neutral kind of perspective and try and think about it logically, like what was happening here? Was it just high heat and things were exploding? Is that what we're seeing? Or did they rig the whole building with bombs, right? I don't know. I don't have the answer.
Part of my prediction is, now that I've been in finance like a long time, I think they needed an excuse, whoever it was. I'm not saying who is. I couldn't even dive into that.
Yeah.
Is that they needed some sort of recession to reset the economy.
Right.
I think something that was the end result.
Yeah.
Where technically if you guys look at an index chart, there is one there's supposed to be one recession every 10 years. And
they were delayed,
2008 to 2020, even though the government doesn't admit it, there was a recession, COVID. That was 12 years. I do believe that COVID was put in because they were overdue for a recession.
Yeah, I guess
or
that
a reset
kind of
had to be done.
Makes it. COVID, I felt like wasn't really a reset, though. I think it was like, okay,
to their eyes a reset, but to us, much worse.
Well, yeah. I mean,
to the elites, to whoever these people are,
it was kind of a reset in the worst way. But like, if you actually look at the stock market, everything came down, and then they went back up because nobody really knew what was going on. So everybody kind of assumed that the world was ending, and that the way the stock market responded to that was, well, it's the end of the fucking world, so everything's going to just tank. And then once we kind of realized, okay, it's not as bad as we thought. We're losing some old people, right? But it's not the end of the world. This is not an Ebola type virus, and everything kind of went pretty much right back to where it was. In the long run, some places were heavily affected because they decided to implement the longest lockdowns ever. For example, here in Ontario, I think we legitimately have the record for the longest lockdown in the world. I don't think anybody beat us, right? And it was horrendous.
How does this make sense? How are the gyms are closed, but the beer store and LCBO is open?
Well, because alcoholics need their alcohol.
They need their alcohol, and it's owned by government. Right?
Well, yeah.
But that didn't really make sense to me, where I questioned everything. I'm like, I'm trying to get my mental well-being. This is my therapy in the morning, is to work out or whatever, walk outside. You can't even do that.
No.
What the heck? There's curfews? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. I mean, well, we didn't really, did we have curfews here in Ontario?
For a bit, yeah.
Oh, yeah? I don't remember that, but I know in Quebec there was. I remember them driving around. They were like on the horns and shit, like telling people to get, it was like some
a lot of
next
people were
level 1984 level type stuff.
Yeah, there were a lot of people were going to like cottages, and there happened to be more than there were supposed to be in those cottages, and then cops are just going through patrolling different houses saying you got to leave.
So ridiculous.
Fines and all this.
So
I think there were some
ridiculous.
house parties where some people were just like, F it. I heard on the news, and some of these house parties had lots of people, and they had to get fined. I'm like,
that's
this
hilarious.
is crazy. But honestly, like, I don't know if it's considered martial law when that happened.
It was close to it. Very
but
close
it
to
definitely was not a democracy, and that's when I realized, like, this is not right.
Yeah,
this is why people were fleeing to Texas and Miami and places where they didn't have the masks. They were like pro critical thinking. That's a new word. Like individuals that are like, this just doesn't make sense to me.
No kidding.
Like just. Restaurants were hit hard. I know that.
Oh yeah, they're still struggling.
They're still trying
to this
to
day. They're trying to get. I mean, they lost so much money. They put themselves into major debt just to keep the doors open, to keep the equipment running. The government didn't really do anything to help them other than tell them you can't run your business normally. But the best was over here in Ontario when we had. It was outside, but it's inside, but it's still technically outside, but there's like an enclosure. Do you remember that? It was like in the middle of winter, and they're like, well, you can't have patrons sitting inside the restaurant, but if we build an enclosure around the patio and turn the heat on outside, it's technically outside, even though it's designed like inside, but it's still outside. And Doug Ford had no problem with that, right? So, and also... the one thing, and this is why I very much dislike Doug Ford, he does some okay things for Ontario, but during COVID, he was a total tyrant. Totally. Like, he was on the same level as Trudeau at that point. And I always tell people, never take your medical advice from a man who's so overweight and probably has not seen his own penis in the last 30 years. That's an honest comment.
And we were talking about earlier, like...
oh, I think your mic stopped working. Oh,
good?
No. For some reason, something decided to turn off. I thought I heard a click, too. Well.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's something in the input. There you go.
Good?
Yep,
okay.
Now it's good.
And we were talking about earlier
how
I found this so funny when people take dating advice from people that were divorced multiple times.
Right.
And yet, why would you take advice from someone that's obese on medical stuff. It just doesn't
Right.
make sense.
Right.
Why would you take like financial advice or some sort of consulting where the guy has been broke
Right.
all his life?
Yeah.
Or a trust fund baby. What does he know? No
Yeah.
offense, but it's just like people got to think logically here. Come on.
Yeah, but people don't think logically. So, for example, yesterday we had the new gun ban that was implemented. Let me bring this up because it's really funny. So this is one of the firearms. This is not a joke. This is a GSG 16. It is a 22 LR, long rifle, essentially. This is a practice rifle. You would never be able to commit a mass shooting of anything other than maybe a group of squirrels with that. So they're going to take this gun and send it over to Ukraine.
Looks like a Nerf gun that's in
Right.
HD.
Yeah, like it's... I feel really bad for the poor fella in Ukraine who's going to go and fight the Russians with that thing. Because trust me, you don't want that.
He'll run full throttle with that like a gun butt.
Yeah, yeah. But it's insane because like a lot of the guns that are actually on the list are 22s. There's a lot of 9mm, and it's not they didn't it's obvious that they didn't bring anybody in who actually knew what the hell they were talking about when it came to guns. It's clear that they decided which guns would be banned based on what they look like. So for the fact that something was considered a tactical rifle, right? Simply because it was maybe black or looked like something the military would use and happened to have M-lock or pick rails, which essentially makes it serve a purpose because you could put tactical lights on it. You can add foregrips. You can add sights, scopes, things like that very easily to guns like that. And that's the reason why they're designed like that. But it doesn't make sense because I could still go to Cabela's right now and buy a rifle, a long rifle, approximately the same size as the ones that are now banned. And I can buy one that'll shoot 308s, which are big rounds, right? You're talking about real hunting rounds. So I can go and buy that, right? Bolt action. I could reload it pretty quick regardless. It's not as fast as a semi-automatic, but I could still reload it pretty quick using bolt action, or even faster if I use lever action, right? So it's just like this whole concept of simply banning guns because of the way they look, not based on how they work, makes no logical sense whatsoever. But of course, you can't expect the liberals to be logical, right? Because
Hey.
big, scary looking gun.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
No.
I feel like they just wanted to headline something, like they're doing some good.
Yeah.
Like, what's
Or-
next on the list?
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
here, let's do this. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter what it is, as long as it's a headline.
Yeah.
Breaking news. Everything's breaking news
Well,
these days.
some people, so I don't know. I don't know what to make of it, right? It kind of makes your head go in so many different directions by taking these guns away. So we already know that we really don't have the right to self-defense in this country. However, it's like, even as a liberal, wouldn't you understand that the more legal guns you have, the less crime there likely would be? Simply put, in the fact that criminals are not going to go and commit home invasions in areas that they know people have a lot of firearms. Why? Because they will probably get shot in the ass if they even try, right? But instead, Trudeau is doing the opposite and disarming the population who want to be able to defend themselves, want to use their guns for, you know, simple things like sport shooting, hunting, whatever that might be. We've all followed the rules. There typically is virtually no mass shootings, with the exception of maybe a couple of people over the last few decades with legal firearms. All of the shootings, all of the crime is coming from illegal guns, right? And these criminals are not getting their guns from us, the legal gun owners. It's so dumb. Is it that, Or is Justin Trudeau legitimately the son of Fidel Castro and wants to disarm all of Canada so he can fully implement communism before the next election?
Well, he's doing a good job of it.
He's been doing a fantastic job of it, in my opinion. But I don't know, man. It's crazy. Like, why? Why is he doing this? Like, why are you taking away 22s and sending them off to Ukraine, right? We care more about Ukraine being able to defend itself than Canada. First of all, there's another issue. So I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but the military, the amount of ammunition the Canadian Armed Forces actually has, only would suffice for approximately 3 days. If we were invaded.
That's abysmal for Canada.
That's terrible.
Like, density of how big they are as a country. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, ammo's expensive in Canada. It's at least, I've checked. It's actually, I've compared just to Buffalo alone, and Buffalo's not that cheap. Ammo here in Canada is like 30% more expensive than Buffalo. I'd never compared to like Texas or anything like that, where there's probably less tax implications. And
that's 30% before the conversion rate. Is that what you're saying?
I did the conversion rate, and it was Canadian dollar to Canadian dollar pricing was 30%.
That was 30%. Yeah. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So if I were to buy a box for $30 here Canadian, it would be $20 there Canadian. So that's just kind of my comparison. But everything generally costs more here in Canada anyways. Because
I mean, even real estate is nuts.
Oh, yeah. In my opinion, real estate... the reason why real estate has gone nuts here is because they've created this massive business, and so much of the economy actually revolves around real estate, right? Buildings. And the reason why is because here in Canada, we don't generally really create things. We don't have massive manufacturing on a level that the Americans have.
There's no innovativeness to that point where I have to use that word here. It doesn't really make sense. It's like more like, okay, I have a Honda, I have a Chrysler plant, I have a Ford, I have a Toyota plant. CN Tower is just CN Tower. Yeah. And then I'll just change it from Sky Dome to Rogers Center, back to Skydome again. So
is that what they did?
That's what they did. But I still call the Sky. Who calls it the Rogers Center?
I know. I mean, sometimes just to not confuse people, I'll call it the Rogers Center. But then, like, if you talk to somebody who actually remembers, I'll just call it the Skydome. I'm like, dude, it's a Skydome. It literally opens and you can see the sky. That's why it's called the Skydome.
Yeah, right? Yeah. But that's just an iconic name to it. But you're right. It's all like commercial real estate of just... the same corporations that are doing
you don't really find the innovation like you had mentioned, right? Like, so first of all, like, there was some, like, just in the gun industry, because I know this for a fact because I know it, right? There's been a bunch of companies who've created products because they had to get around the safety regulations for guns. And I thought that was great. Like, you had new companies popping up, right? Kodiak Defense, Crusader Arms. There's a whole bunch of these Canadian companies. Now you've literally effectively put them out of business because they can no longer create and sell the guns anymore. So what are they going to do, right? But what you just put these companies out of business. You just laid a bunch of people off, right? And that's all Trudeau's doing in the name of safety. And it doesn't make anything any safer, in my opinion. It actually makes us less safe because now we don't have these firearms to defend ourselves. Not that we've ever really had.
That would make the criminals think that when they see a headline like that, it's like, oh, well, let's guess we're not as bad as we think we are. Yeah. Let's take the chance.
Yeah, exactly. It makes it easier for them to go and commit a home invasion with an illegal firearm now that they know that everybody's going to give up their guns, right? And in my opinion, I ain't giving up shit. They can come to my house with a search warrant and come and take my guns if they really want to, and I'll videotape it and show everybody how ridiculous they look, right?
I'm actually like smiling right now because I just thought of this. It's like, I don't want this upon anyone, but let's say like this criminal or burglar just goes into the house. I could see the feminist going downstairs and trying to like defend the house, or is it actually going to be the guy that somehow simped to her? I wonder who is going to go downstairs, and the freaking guy's going to do it. Yeah, not the feminist. She'll be feminine in that very moment. Because I don't know why I just thought of that. It's just kind of funny.
Yeah. He ain't going to do shit.
No.
But I think I got to go soon because it's already getting a little bit later on. I got to go film a video tonight. Gonna probably go back to the demon house and camp out. My friend, he came over from the States, so he'll be here for a few days.
This guy never stops.
Oh, I never stop.
But that's the obsession, guys. When you have an obsession and a vision, you have a deep why, you got to go along with it. So it's not easy to be an entrepreneur, and you only see the production of what's going on. You don't see the logistics of everything. 100%. That's for sure. People always see the finish line. They don't see what's in the middle, right?
Oh, no. They don't see, like, they just see the hour and a half video that they're getting of me camping in the woods. But what they're not processing is planning, finding film locations, actually going to the location, and then doing the setup, and also the parts that you don't even see on camera, right? Of like maybe having to move things around or whatever I got to do. And then the whole process of, going back to the car, driving back home, and then editing the video, and then uploading it, and then figuring out what you're going to title the video, and then the thumbnail, right? And then like the next day you're basically doing it all over again, right? It's a constant cycle. But for me, I don't know, I feel kind of weird, and I think it's just because mentally I've always been like kind of trained like this.
The hardwired, right?
Yeah, where I find I can't stop. Like, even though it's like, oh yeah, we had a really good, like last month I had a record month because the fans are absolutely amazing. They're loving the content. I'm enjoying making it. And we got on the main channel over 1 million views overall across the board.
That's amazing.
Which is amazing. Yeah. And the vlog channel did pretty good too. And now we're kind of back doing the podcast stuff. But I kind of find that like no matter how I do, I just find that I don't like taking breaks because I get antsy. I will take breaks at certain times, like Christmas obviously is coming up. So I'll take those couple of days off to just kind of unwind a little bit. But up until that point, I will do more. So that way I have stuff ready to go by Christmas. So I don't have to actually do anything, right? I just find like I make myself kind of crazy in that respect, I guess. Do you find that you do the same thing?
Well, you kind of explained what obsession is. Yeah. I think sometimes when people say like follow your passion, I don't think that's enough. I think a passion could be something that's not in the marketplace that's going to make you a lot or even be sustainable for long periods of time. And I think what you've done with your channel, I'm trying to keep up, is that you've diversed such a great audience of exploration, paranormal, podcast. You've become multi-skilled based, and you just can't put all your eggs in one basket. No. Right? It comes to investing. People invest in real estate. People invest in digital currency, the RSPs, TFSAs. If you have all of this, one doesn't work out. You have all these things to go on. It's just like a grocery store. When I worked there for years, it's like, oh, you know what? The clothing line, the baby diapers, the clothing, they didn't do that well this month. But you know what? Like the cheese and the milk, the frozen section, it made revenue, right? There's several sections in a hierarchy, but that's always going to work out. You just can't be one-dimensional in this day and age. You got to be adaptable. I've been saying that since God knows how many years I've been doing this. You have to be adaptable, and you got to be wanting to give that value to people. Whether they respond to you, whether it's haters, it's trigger the haters into commenting to something, because in the end, they're living vicariously through you. They just haven't realized it yet. They just got to change something in their lifestyle, or maybe they just need that paradigm shift to change something up. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you. Yeah, people definitely got to be a little bit more versatile.
Like you have non-negotiables. That's what it is, right? You need that to keep going.
Yeah, and I tell people, even like when I try and help YouTubers, like branch out, try and find something else that you can do, but also treat it like a business, right? Instead of a hobby at the end of the day, because hobbies generally just don't pay well. But people kind of do have a habit of getting themselves trapped by only doing maybe one sort of type of content. And it's like, maybe you really don't like filming that sort of type of content, and you can't just yet figure out what the next thing is. But in reality, in business, sometimes you might not enjoy doing this specific thing when you're running your business. But at the end of the day, you have to do it anyways.
That's the uncomfortable.
It's the uncomfortable, yeah. And that's what I try and tell them. I'm like, okay, well, maybe you don't like doing this one particular thing, but you, like I said, you haven't figured out what the next type of content is, right? I felt like I was kind of getting there as well too, because we were constantly booking these locations, going to them, and it was kind of like, well, you have 10 really popular channels on YouTube and everybody's kind of doing the same thing. So eventually I was like getting tired of it. So then I started doing a little bit of something else. Got tired of that too. And then eventually we thought of what the next thing was. And it was like, okay, well, this kind of like rekindled, like doing the whole like camping, going out and adventure really rekindled my passion for wanting to go out and explore and adventure. And it's different, right? It's very like wilderness and nature and stuff like that. So I don't know if I'll do it forever, right? But that's just kind of what we're doing right now. But I try and tell people, it's like, come up with something new, but you still unfortunately have to do the nitty gritty of what you don't really want to do until you get there, right? So
I mean, like I'll take my perspective outside looking in, not knowing who you are, and I'm watching your content. It's different, and then you come to this point where you're traveling and you're camping, and all of a sudden I can see it within you that reputation really matters to you, but you are being who you are since the beginning, and people respect that.
Yeah.
And that's why they'll keep watching. It's like, oh, he's not changing who he is.
No.
He's actually wanting to find something that he's excited with to give to the fans, to give to the viewers. And that's what the loyal fans will do, is they'll stay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're right. Uncomfortable is like, you're going on vacation, you're in customs. That's the uncomfortable. No one likes to wait in customs waiting 2 hours, and all of a sudden you're bored. But then after that, it's all going to be worth it in the end, right? I heard this quote from a guy, and he's like, uncomfortable pays and comfortable kills. And I put that on my chalkboard deliberately right next to my door when I leave.
Oh, okay.
And I look at that amongst many other quotes. Like gratitude is big, but like, that one really hits home. It's like, why am I feeling comfortable? Oh, it's going to create that wealth. It's going to create that legacy. It's going to create it's going to create so much success along the way. I may not know everything yet, but until I become stagnant, let me look at the drawing board and see what else is up. Yeah. Because you always got to be adaptable. Like I said, it's what the marketplace wants, right?
Right.
So if your viewers are going up, that means something is working, right? You don't need validation from that. The stats prove it.
Oh, yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Well, anyways, it's getting a little bit late, so we're going to have to call it a day on this one, but thanks for coming back on. You're welcome back at any time.
Oh, thanks, Angelo.
Yeah, like I said, I'm very hopeful for the future. I think things are going to get a lot better. Things are going to start really changing. Here in Canada, we'll see. Unfortunately, we still have to wait till October 20th is the next election here, but we'll see. But again, thank you for coming on. You want to shout anything out?
I mean, if anyone wants to follow on Instagram, it's Kansian AMC. Follow me through there if you need any help in regards to like work ethic, health stuff, financial consultancy, all that kind of stuff. Just let me know, and we'll figure it out from there. But glad to be here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming through. And that'll be it for this episode. Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, turn those notifications on, and we will see you guys in the next episode.